We don't have Carl Olson yet.
Yeah, we have a caller.
Yes, you do. Good afternoon. Carl from the airport
there
on
he
board
is.
with you.
Good. Okay, so you're caller number one, Carl. Thanks.
Okay.
Okay,
So,
good. We have
Ben,
nine-
are you taking the tally here of who's at the meeting?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, and we will also start recording the meeting as well.
Okay. All
This
right. Well,
conference will now be recorded.
okay, this meeting is called to order. I have 4:03 p.m. So, Jennifer, you've taken the attendance?
Actually, I have.
Oh, Melissa has. Okay, thank you. And there's no public comment, I don't think. Is that right, Ray? Okay.
Correct, no public comments.
So we have the consent agenda, which comes next, item number 4. And so on the consent agenda are 3 items: the minutes of the last meeting, October 7th, the financial reports under B, and C, the Plan Commission staff report. So the recommendation is that these be approved under the consent agenda. Are there any comments about that, or would anyone like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda? Diana?
Carl has a quick question.
Pardon me?
Carl Olson has a quick question.
Oh, very good, Carl.
Sorry
You're-
about it.
you
I'm
have the
wondering,
mic.
on the Route 66 project with Farnsworth, I was just wondering which office was working on that and who the project partners are from Farnsworth.
Actually, that's under the regular agenda, Carl. On the consent agenda.
I'm ahead of myself. I'm sorry. I'll go back to mute. Sorry about that.
That's all right. Okay. So Diana, would you like to make a motion?
Yes, I move that we accept the consent agenda as presented.
Okay, is there a second to that?
Second the
Paul
motion.
Heitman makes a second. All in favor, say
I'll
yes
second
or raise your hand.
Yes.
Okay, motion is approved unanimously.
Yes.
Okay, now we'll move on to the regular agenda. And let's move on, since there are no items from the consent agenda to consider, we'll move on to the Vision Zero Project Services Agreement extension of time. And I'm going to ask Ray to explain that to everyone.
Sure, happy to. The Vision Zero Traffic Safety Project, it is a project that is funded by IDOT with some federal money. And if you recall, back in June of 2019, there was a contract, the Project Services Agreement, that was executed after approval by the Regional Planning Commission with the consultants, Hire Group, for the consultant to do the work. And that agreement was to expire in November. I mean, this past month, I guess last week actually, November of 2020, upon the submission of a final report. And there's some delay, as you recall, we kind of explained in the past with the project update, because the turnover of the executive director of the Regional Planning Commission, so there was a void in terms of time, and also because the COVID-19 situation that was started around like middle of March of 2020. So there was delay in the starting of the project, but however, the kickoff meeting was held in June of this year, as you recall, from our project update, and the work has been ongoing since then with the consultants, the project steering committee. There's a panel of subject experts, and Jen will give an update later on that particular project. And the final report, so it's in progress, as you all know, and the final report is anticipated around March and April of this year. And since the original contract had the expiration of November 2020, but the project is ongoing and got a few more months of work to complete the project. And so an extension of time through April of 2021 is being proposed, and we recommend that we approve. And it's all detailed in the staff memorandum and all the materials that was distributed last week. And if you recall, we also brought to the attention of the commission that we also had a contract through an intergovernmental agreement with IDOT because it's federal money and through IDOT. And that agreement has been extended through June of 2021. So, but an issue is the agreement between the consultant and the Regional Planning Commission. And so, but there's no change in the dollar amount. It remains at $66,300 with the contract. And so that's the only issue for you to consider this afternoon is for the extension of time of that original contract through April of 2021. So any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Well, I have one question on page 2, Exhibit B, compensation schedule, final bullet, 7,400 upon successfully completing the final phase. Is that 7,400 that comes out of the 66,300 total amount? Okay, thank you.
Correct. Yeah, that's
Okay.
correct. And just a good question too, because as you read from the materials, there was amended rephasing of the steps and the project. So it's the final phase. It may not be 7,400 because the changes in the phasing, but it's upon. So there may be some changes in the number, but then the overall remains the same. The contract. Does that make
Okay.
sense? Yeah.
Any other questions? The project basically remains the same, but because of delays due to a change of leadership when Basu left and when Ray took over, and also delays because of COVID. We asked for an extension from IDOT, received it, and so now we're voting on this. So is there a motion to, if there's no other questions, we can vote on this?
I have a question, Mary.
Okay.
Ray, are you confident in them completing by April? I mean, are they going to come back and?
The way
Who is
it
that
is
question
moving
from?
right now, I'm sorry. Oh,
Who
it's
was that
Carl.
question from?
Yeah, it's
Oh,
Carl.
Carl, thank you.
Carl, Mr. Olson.
Okay,
Yeah, from the way it's moving right now, and also it's both Jen and I are monitoring the progress and the consultants. We'll make sure that it's on track, and then the way the scheduling that they're working on is supposed to be on track. Yeah, I think we're pretty sure, and we'll push them if it seems it'll be delayed. And actually, they are looking at having the report done probably by like a draft final report by the end of March of 2021. So we build in some cushion in case some contingency, there's some unexpected things that will happen that gives them a little bit time. So yeah, we'll make sure that it's done. There's always surprises, but the way it's been going right now, I think we're pretty confident that will be all done by the end of April.
so that brings up another question to me. I'm wondering if there would be a delay for whatever reason, what is our recourse? Would we ask for another extension? Could you explore that with us?
Good, yeah. Because we also under contract with IDOT, and that's through June of 2021. And even after the consultant's work is done, there's some work, that staff will also have to do anyway. So personally, I really don't want to see the consultants to extend too much, if anything, maybe max maybe a month, if that at all. But I definitely want to hold them to the April deadline, and then give us the staff like a 2-month period to finish whatever work's necessary for IDA, because we have to meet that obligation. So I don't want to put ourselves, at risk with IDA.
Okay.
Mary,
Any other
That was my,
questions?
so
Carl
thanks.
Eichmann.
yeah, Mary, I had one quick question for Ray. Ray, we've made all of the payments up to this point, correct?
They have turned in 3 invoices. We have paid 2. The
Okay.
third one is being reviewed and in progress.
Okay, thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, and just want to give a heads up, and I don't know how it will or will not come to the board later on, because it's something still being worked on. But I just want to give you a heads up in case it will be on the agenda in one of the upcoming meetings. The consultants has also proposed some change orders, and so with some changes in the scope as well as some dollar amount. And so we are still working with them on that. So I just want you to be aware of it. So we're asking for some more information and justification from them before we would, if it's reasonable and acceptable, then we will bring to the commission. So, but I just want you to be aware of that possibility.
So you're saying that the change order might involve additional compensation for them?
That's what they're proposing right now. Of course, with some additional steps in the scope of work, and that's what we are evaluating and also working with them. But I don't want to, since it's not really finalized or anything, I don't want to say too much because it's not definite. But yes, that's what at least at this point that they are proposing to do. That with some additional steps in the scope and also some changes increase in the dollar amount. But you will have a chance once it's all finalized, based on the discussion with staff and the consultant, we'll bring all those information to you for your consideration.
Okay, does that bring up any other questions by any of the commissioners? Okay, because I must say there in the contract that is included in the documents that everyone has on section 16, page 4, there is a force majeure part of the contract that allows either party, either us or our client, Heil Group, additional time because of delays that are unforeseen. And I believe that with the extension of time that they're getting, that shouldn't the problems with COVID and with the change in commission leadership shouldn't cause a problem. Okay, if there's no questions, is there a motion to approve the extension of time? Would someone like to make a motion? Hi, Mark.
So
You just-
moved.
Oh, okay, you just came on board. Did you hear the discussion on this, Mark?
Yes,
Were you here?
yeah.
Great, okay. Okay, so who made the motion?
I did, Mark did, and I
Mark
did.
accept it. Okay, is there a second?
I think Bart did second.
Okay, great. Okay, all in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Okay. The extension is passed. Now we'll move on to C under the regular agenda, McLean County Old Route 66, etc. Well, I'll read it. Historic Catalog Project Services Agreement Amendment, extension of time. So I'm going to call on you again, Ray, to explain this.
Sure. As you recall, at the last commission meeting, one of our staff members, Tim Riley, give little brief presentation on the Route 66 project, just to give you an idea of what we've been working on. And so the project, actually, it was originally approved for funding by the Regional Planning Commission back in February of 2019. And the goal is to compile information along Route 66 for the McLean County portion to identify and all the information of all the historic or the sites of historic significance that may still exist or previously along that route. And so through a process, the RFQ, the request for qualification process, the consultant Farnsworth Group was selected to do the project. And so there was agreement signed between the commission and also the consultant on August 1 of 2019. And so they've been doing the work. At that time, their staff member, Dr. Bliss, who also is a professor or an instructor or whatever the title, but she teaches at U of I in Urbana-Champaign. But she also worked as a consultant with Farnsworth Group. But subsequently, and as is all outlined in the materials that was distributed last week, but that she disengaged with the consultant, but she still completed a good portion of the work, assisted by one of our former interns. And so they got the bulk of the information collected, identified of this, identification of the sites and structures. And so, but we don't have every, there was all the deliverables yet. But recently, Dr. Bliss has been re-engaged with the Farnsworth Group. And so she's actually continuing the work and trying to complete the work. And so we thought it's because the personnel issues and some technical problems that originally they're supposed to have the contract and the work done in June of this year, a few months ago, but would warrant an extension of time. And they really diligently working to complete the work. And Dr. Bliss is well qualified. And so we're glad, staff is glad that she's willing to continue the work. And so we have confidence that, that work will be done. And she has very good intention to finish the work. And so with that, we propose and recommend the extension of that contract, the original agreement, from June of 2020 to February 28th of 2021. There's no change in the contract, the total contract amount of $30,000. So that remains the same. It does give them a little bit more time to finish the project. And the project will be of significance, to our area on the regional, as you all know, Route 66, the historic significance. And then with the bicentennials coming up and everything else. So we really think by giving them a few extra months to finish the work will be good for the area. So with that, if any questions from the commission?
Carl had a question. Carl Olson.
Yes, that was a great help, Ray. Thank you. I was just curious, who from Farnsworth, which is it, the uptown office that's overseeing this project, and who from the company?
Yes, it's John Bishop with the normal office.
All right, great. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Okay, are there any other questions? Okay, hearing none, is there a motion to approve the extension of time?
So moved.
John moves. Who would like to second?
Carl will second.
Carl Olson seconds. All in favor, raise your hand, say aye, or
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, it looks
Aye.
like, Mark, did you vote? You said, Mark Wiley?
I'm going to abstain
Oh, okay, all right.
because of my history with Farnsworth.
Okay, great. Okay, so it looks like it's unanimous, but one abstention. Okay, so we will move on to the next item on the agenda, which is number 6, A, Regional Housing Initiatives. And I'll ask Lauren to give us an update on that. Lauren
Sure.
Gibson.
Yep, thanks, Mary. So first thing I want to discuss is the Housing Assistance Coalition update for this month. So this is, if you remember, we started this coalition in late April, early May, as a response to kind of the loss of income from COVID-19, realizing that people were going to need help with, rent and mortgage and utilities in the coming months. We had absolutely no idea that it was going to last as long as it has and the need was going to last. But I think, we've seen that just growing and growing over the past few months, and that it's not really slowing down anytime soon. So thankfully, I've been able to lead that with Adrian Barr from Prairie State Legal Services, with a wide variety of governments, nonprofits, and different philanthropic organizations in our community. So through the end of October, since we started in May, there's been over $1.5 million in assistance given out locally. So just some kind of data points for this month. The amount of utility assistance given out this month, which was $168,000, surpassed the amount of rental assistance provided, which was $125,000 for the first time. I think a big part of that is, as we're seeing temperatures drop, bills are going up. So I think people are starting to get worried about that. There wasn't a blanket moratorium on on utility shutoffs. That's been changed a little bit. The major utilities do have extended that through March of 2021. So I think that's just something that we're going to still continue to see in the winter months. The demand for mortgage assistance continues to be really low. We have only maybe one per month that we've given out in mortgage assistance. So a little update on the eviction moratorium. So the statewide moratorium was extended again for a month through December 14th. But this time it's a little bit different. It mirrors more that CDC, which is the national eviction moratorium that goes through the end of the year. So with this, tenants have to, if they want to be protected from eviction due to loss of income from COVID, they have to sign a declaration that will be provided by their landlords. And so they must swear that they make no more than $99,000 annually or $198,000 for joint tax return, that they're unable to work or make their full rent or housing payment due to a COVID-19 related hardship, that they're using their best efforts to make timely payments that are as close to the full payment as they can get. If they were evicted, they would become homeless or have to double up with someone else. And they do have to acknowledge that rent is still due, late fees still can be accrued. So this moratorium, it's a little bit more restrictive than the CDC moratorium, so it'll take precedence in Illinois until it expires. We don't know if it'll be extended again. It seems to be extended on a monthly basis, but I think we were all kind of caught off guard by this latest change. Like I said, the utility shut-off moratorium for major utilities, so that's like Ameren, ComEd, NICOR in this area, goes through March 31st of 2021. They originally had that as a moratorium only if you reached out to them and said, hey, I can't pay due to COVID, but now it's been extended to all customers. Again, you still have to pay your utilities, but there is that moratorium. And I think a lot of utility companies have put their own assistance things in place. So one thing that the coalition has been kind of ramping up is kind of marketing. So besides the United Way has done a great job. They've bought different social media spots for these to pop up when you're scrolling through Facebook, kind of telling about, hey, are you experiencing hardship? Here's where you can go to get assistance. There's been flyers, there's been billboards. One of our members actually made kind of a PSA video to share with the people they serve. So we're trying to get the word out, educating people that, assistance is still available. So if you'll remember, I talked about the Illinois Housing Development Authority did have a statewide rental assistance program. And I told you that over 900 households in McLean County applied for assistance. So this assistance is a little bit different than what we've been giving out locally. It's kind of a blanket $5,000 if you're awarded, and that goes directly to the landlord. So that will cover any back rent you weren't able to pay, current rent, and if there's any left over, it'll go towards future rent. So we still haven't heard from IDA how many households in McLean County were funded for that. I believe they said that they have notified everyone as of the end of last week whether or not they received it, but I'll keep checking with IDA, and hopefully a good chunk of people that applied for that assistance were able to get it. Moving on, we originally, when we started this, we wanted to see if we could kind of come up with a model that could say, hey, based on our demographics, other things, here's what we expect, the need to be. Obviously, when we did this back in May, we were lacking a lot of data. We were lacking a lot of knowledge about what the economic situation would be. So we actually went back and completed, and I'll thank Tim Riley for helping me with the coding part of this. A new model based on a code developed by NYU Furman Center for Housing Studies, as well as the company narrative. So this estimates the number of rental households that have been vulnerable to job loss based on different categories of employment in McLean County, what those lost wages amount to, and the estimated rental need. And this is kind of done on a monthly basis. And so this analysis considers how different levels of unemployment benefits that have been offered throughout this pandemic period has shaped the total rental assistance needs, looking at 3 different scenarios, one of which is just the regular standard unemployment insurance benefits that you would get from the state, one with the extra $300 a month, which was in place, I believe, through the end of October, and then no unemployment benefits if they were to run out. So this analysis will be updated if there's new benefit packages passed either on the federal or state level. So it just kind of gives us a sort of snapshot in time look at here's what we estimate our lost wages to be here in McLean County, and how that translates into kind of money that can't be paid towards rent. And so looking at that on the flip side, that's also money landlords aren't getting to pay their mortgages, things like that. So I think it's a helpful number. I think it can be used by our partners to look at, say, hey, maybe we need to be allocating more money towards this, or we need to kind of tweak some of our programs to help meet the need. So that review is not public. The analysis is not public yet. I'm going to be working with the Housing Assistance Coalition this month to kind of review it, fine tune. We'll be reviewing it at the December 20th meeting. So that's kind of the big things going on with that. In terms of the research component of the housing initiatives, the housing staff committee will, tomorrow at our meeting, will be reviewing the final draft of a white paper, which documents the steps that local governments can take to preserve low-income housing tax credit properties and other income qualified housing. We'll publish this paper on the website, and we can also let you know when it's available. And that's all I have for today.
All right, thank you, Lauren. Let's move on to item B, the census count committee. Alyssa?
Yep, thanks, Mary. So I'm going to give you all one final quick recap of all the activities and accomplishments that we did for the 2020 census efforts. And I have a little PowerPoint that I will share for that. And I know Carl's on the phone, so I'll do my best to describe what we're looking at. So this is a table that shows the final self-response rates for different geographies within our region. So you can see for McLean County as a whole, we improved upon our 2010 final self-response rates by 0.2%. So that was definitely a big win for us given COVID and everything that we had, all the obstacles that COVID brought along in 2020. Bloomington well surpassed the 2010 rate. Normal was below, but the caveat to the numbers that we will see for the next 10 years is that the Census Bureau calculated students differently, so they're not included in this number. So even though normal looks like they're below, I think if they had counted the students in this number, they'd probably either be even or even slightly above 2010. This is a chart that shows the McLean County self-response rate throughout the duration of the self-response period. So this is just a nice little illustration. The 2010 response rate was 72.6, and we reached 72.8 with about 10 days left in the self-response period. This is a map that shows all the census tracts in McLean County, and census tracts that are in green surpassed 2010 response rates, and census tracts in tan were right about even or slightly below 2010 rates, and then red and orange was under. But again, those red areas are heavily student populated, and the students were not included in these numbers. So then just a quick recap on outreach. Sorry, Carl Olson, but you can't see all the pictures that I put on here. But yeah, so this is an example of the yard sign that we did and the logos that the town made up for us. In terms of outreach, we did end up doing 80 events, and that's still pretty good given that we had to cancel a few due to COVID, but we were able to reschedule quite a few of them. So I believe we were somewhere between 80 or 90 events originally scheduled, and we ended up doing 80. So still pretty happy with that. We had a little over 39,000 attendees at all the different events that we did total. Some of the best turnout events were piecemeal, congregate, and home delivery sites that the Agency on Aging staffed. And then YWCA phone banking, different backpack giveaways in August around school starting time. Food pantries, we did food pantries several times. Those had really high turnout. And then the library also had, both Bloomington and Normal libraries had good turnout with curbside pickup and census story times and things like that. We also did about 60 Facebook posts just on the regional planning account, but then our CCC partners did countless. It was basically impossible for me to keep track of how many they did, but countless shares of Facebook posts or their own Facebook posts. And then there were 8 news articles written about our efforts locally between McLean County and Peoria, which we worked with really closely on the efforts. And then we also did several newsletters, like online newsletters and email newsletters and things like that, anything we could get our hands on. And counting all the subscribers from all the different newsletters we did, there were about 76,000 subscribers to all those. In terms of materials and signage disbursements, this was a really heavy component of our outreach. And so we did signs like all over the place, including at the airport and uptown and on every single Connect Transit bus inside and out and all the bus stops and all that. So we disseminated just about 30,000 flyers, posters, banners, display ads, and signs all around the county. We passed out 11,000 different giveaway swag items. So like pins, masks, things that have the census logo. Tote bags were really popular, especially at the food pantries that had the census logo and then flyers in them. We did 350 yard signs around the county. And then moving on. This is an example of some of the flyers that we put out there, and these were designed by our marketing consultant out of Decatur, DCC Marketing. And most of the materials they did in both English and Spanish. So this is just a sample of those. And then finally, what's next? So this is the last update that I'll give you on CCC efforts. Everything closed out with the CCC at the end of October. But I can keep you all updated when the actual data is released. And it's not scheduled to be released. They haven't given me a specific date, but it's going to be sometime in mid to late spring of next year. But the two next upcoming dates that we do know is that on December 31st, the Census Bureau will deliver congressional apportionment counts to the president. And these are the numbers that'll get used to determine how many seats in the US House each state will have. And those numbers will go into effect beginning in 2022, and they'll impact the next 10 years after that until the next census. And then the next due date is March 31st, and that's when the Census Bureau will send redistricting counts to all the states. And that data is what the states will use to redraw all their legislative boundaries.
Okay.
And that is all I have, unless anybody has any questions.
Any questions? Okay, very thorough report. Thank you so much, Alyssa. Let's move on to, was there a question?
Not a question, just want to, if I miss it, I want to thank the two commissioners that are also serving on the Complete Count Committee, Ms. Hellman and Mr. Wiley. They've been serving on the CCC committee and really been a great help, and it's kind of a good connection between the Regional Planning Commission and the CCC and also other partners in the region. So I just want to thank them on behalf of the staff, for their help, through the whole process.
Thank you very much.
Yep, thank you.
Diana?
I want to just say that Alyssa did a phenomenal job. I know she had some help from other people in the office, but very professional. The meetings were run very well, even though she was trying to herd cats at the time, because we were all trying to share ideas and so forth to make this a success, and did a really phenomenal job in coordinating everything for us. So thank you, Alyssa.
Thanks, Diana. Appreciate that.
Okay. Any other comments, observations? Hearing none, we'll move on to item D, Bloomington Normal Innovation Alliance, Smart Cities Initiative. So I'll call on Ray for this.
Do you want to go for item C, Vision Zero first by Jen, update?
Okay. Jen?
Yes, thank you, Mary.
I'm sorry. Okay,
All
I
right.
can raise name on here. All right.
As we heard earlier, in looking at the information regarding the decision to extend the schedule, you were given a lot of backstory about the progress of this. But in the immediate sense, we have progress taking place. We have a project steering committee, and also, as Ray mentioned, a panel of subject matter experts, of which I'm one, believe it or not. And they were sort of pulled together earlier this year to try and get their feet wet on what the sort of underlying issues were on safety and on how it relates to infrastructure and other issues. And we sort of dumped on them a whole lot of information and said, make of this what you will. What that led to was an opportunity a little more recently, excuse me, for the combined group, the project study steering committee, and the subject matter people to talk more specifically about areas of focus that would lead to an ability to kind of generate the final report for this project, which we also talked about earlier. So that was 3 focus groups. Thank you very much. I couldn't find all day, but now who knows? So that was, so again, 3 focus groups: infrastructure, on which I was sort of the liaison from the team for the project, culture change, which was Julie Heil as the liaison, and finally data technology and smart cities, and that was Jonathan. So we put together, with the help of the Heil group, a series of virtual meetings with all these people brought together to look at the information that they'd already seen, and also to consider kind of a set of assignments that the Heil group had prepared as packets. So everyone got the same underlying information about safety issues, about crashes and so on, about priority projects, but each of the groups looked at it a little differently, and the assignments on how they should view this information that they got from the consultants all varied a little bit. And the idea was for each of the focus groups to come up with a set of responses to the questions that had been put in the packet, and some of their perspectives, again, through the framework of their subject area, their focus area, on how to respond, and what kind of information was important, what kind of things were perhaps less critical. I'll tell you that, as having worked with the infrastructure group, we had, from our earlier work on a plan for complete streets, we had a list of potentially priority projects, about 16 of them, and that particular group went through that with a pretty fine-tooth comb and did a lot of revision and pointing out the number of these things that are already been done. So we kind of handled that part of it. There's been different types of feedback from the other 2 groups, and the idea is that the consultants are currently using all of this information to create a draft of a final report, certainly structurally and also with content. And when they've finished up with that and it's available for the committees to review, everyone will go through it to look for, where commonality has happened, where there are potentially some conflicts in the information, and see if we can come up with a final document that everyone is happy with. And that's sort of over the next, we hope, month or so, maybe 6 weeks. Obviously, we have holidays to contend with, so that will be part of it as well. And then at that point, as you know, the consultant is looking at being finished with this project by the end of April, which means that we need time to assess the report. That's the project steering committee, to a lesser extent, the subject matter experts, our staff. And then, of course, that leaves us with a couple more months in which to finalize some of the aspects of this project that the consultants are not working on, and that has to do with outreach to our local leadership, political and otherwise, and the acceptance of this concept, so that we can come up at the end with a commitment coming from the local governments to say, we're going to pursue this, and it's something we know will be helpful to our pursuit of better safety.
So I have a question. The Bloomington Normal Innovation Alliance, who is on the alliance? Who are the members?
Right?
If you're done with 6C on Vision Zero update, I can go to the 6D, the alliance.
Oh, okay. All right, it's all right. Are there any questions for Jen? Or for Ray on this? Okay, hearing none. Is there a motion to adjourn? I think
Oh,
we're done.
I'm sorry.
I'm so,
Jen just finished her update on the Vision Zero project. I can go to 16.
oh, I'm sorry. I'm very sorry. Okay. I was looking at D. So,
Okay.
okay.
Yes, she just finished C. I'll be happy to start D if there's no questions on C, on the Vision Zero. So I can
Any
start.
questions on the Vision Zero, item C? Okay, hearing none, let's move on to D, the Bloomington Normal Innovation Alliance.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Smart City initiative's been kind of in our work program for the last couple of years, and also in some of the city and town strategic plans a few years ago. And that's been, so if you recall, seeing Smart City initiatives, that's the kind of the old name. A few months ago, a new formal name has been adopted, for this area group. It's called the BNIA, Bloomington Normal Innovation Alliance. And that's a group of individuals composed of like city council, elected officials, county, city, towns, staff, the administrators, city managers, kind of representing the three governmental entities, as well as the two universities, ISU and IWU, and Mr. Tegman serves on behalf of IWU, Illinois Wesleyan, on this group also. There are other partners, including the Economic Development Corporation of Bloomington Normal area, the Chamber of Commerce of McLean County, as well as the Central Illinois Broadband, this network. And so there's a group of individuals we've been meeting over, even before my time, but since I came, I've been attending monthly meetings, but I think they've been meeting for over a year to around 1 to 2 years of time frame. And the primary objectives of the group, when it got together, really trying to link problems in the area to solutions, to look at what are some of the research that can be done, through the universities, through individuals and groups, and to come up with solutions, but it could be through technological type based focused solutions or other research, and trying to solve those problems. So that's kind of the impetus for that group to put together and meeting and all the discussion. So this is, since it's kind of still fairly young, so to speak, so it's more like a baby in its infancy, but a lot of energy, goodwill, representatives, and Carl, and feel free to add to anything I say too, that really the folks really want to work together as a group, as a region, with representatives from different entities and institutions to work together to solve any problems that can be solved. So really the group has been kind of on meeting, ongoing, trying to do some good work, trying to identify projects that all can work together. One of the projects that would be a good example that actually the commission did approve the funding for last month, if you recall, the 5G, the small cell project. I think that's a good example of kind of regional cooperation with the governmental entities, looking out for what the futures should be like, when the 5G infrastructures is going to keep expanding in our area. And so there'll be more projects, and this group's trying to work on and trying to come up in a collaborative way. So in order to tie all this together, there's a memorandum of understanding, that's being drafted and being circulated. Since it's still in a kind of draft form being circulated, so I hate to bring that to the Regional Planning Commission for approval, because there might be other partners that might have some changes. But I just want to give you a heads up when there's some kind of final draft that will bring it to the Regional Planning Commission, for your endorsement and approval of this memorandum of understanding with two purposes of the MOU. One is to ensure the communication and coordination among the different partners, to address any community problems that can be looked at, research, and come up with analysis and solutions. And then the second purpose of this MOU would be mutually collaborating together and to expand our knowledge, and also to pursue further research. And the goal is not looking at just our area, our local area. Actually, the group would like to someday to study further or to share knowledge, to share solutions with other towns and cities in other parts of the state, other cities in the country, and also someday, to the rest of the world. I mean, that's a really high goal and objective. So I, again, just want to have a heads up on the MOU. We'll bring it to the commission, for your review and approval. And Mr. Takeman, anything you would want to add, please do, because you've been with the group longer than I have. So please.
Yeah, the only thing, Ray, I think Ray did a good job of describing what this group is trying to address. I will say that I think we're a little bit ahead as a community toward addressing smart cities, and more particularly some of the technological advances that smart cities and technology will bring in terms of planning and development going forward. And I think this is especially important given some of the work that's going to be happening along Main Street, Route 51, and also working with IDOT and Route 9. And then, of course, the other issue that Ray mentioned, which is 5G and the towers that need to go up, and making sure that we work with the providers to identify sensible ways of placing those small G towers through the community, so they're not necessarily a nuisance per se. They're not another pole that's going up in a very inopportune position that garners any negative feedback from the citizens as they see these things go up and such. So.
Thank you. Yeah, and I also want to mention that Lisa Cooper, one of our staff members, and I, and Carl have been attending those monthly group meetings. So if there's any major highlights or anything that worth commission's attention, we'll bring it to you.
Okay.
Hey, Carl, with the 5G towers, are there going to have to be a bunch of them because they're more line of sight, unlike the 4G solution?
Repeat your question again, Michael. I missed it. I'm sorry.
So are there going to be a bunch more 5G towers going up because they need to be line of sight? They don't necessarily operate the same way 4G does?
Yeah, because they're on a much smaller scale, yes, there will be more 5G towers going up. And that's one of the issues that we're trying to do, is work with the utility companies as much as we possibly can. Unfortunately, and Ray or Alyssa can correct me if I'm wrong in this, but it's my understanding that we don't have a whole lot of levers that we can pull, or I should say the municipalities don't have a whole lot of levers that they can pull to guide where these towers go. Rather, we're trying to get some common sense kinds of, or the municipalities are trying to get some common sense rules in place and hope that the providers will follow those when they put their towers up per se. But all you have to do is go up Main Street And just after you get past, I believe it's the just south of the railroad tracks, where the new or relatively new student housing is going up or has been up. There's a tower there. There's towers in many places, and they're just popping up right now. And so we're trying to make sure this is one of the efforts to do it. So yes, Michael, unfortunately, there will be more towers going up, and hopefully we can do as much as we possibly can to make sure that they're put in the best possible spots.
Are we
Yeah, yeah.
trying to include like private business rooftops to help mitigate some of those freestanding poles?
That's one of the
Yeah.
things that I think we're going to try to do, is to, where we possibly can, either take advantage of rooftops, or more importantly, taking a look at other poles in other locations. But I understand, and again, I'll turn to Alyssa or to Ray to provide more context to it. But sometimes, because companies or providers don't like to share, so to speak, it's difficult to get Ameren to agree to allow Verizon to put something on a pole that they already have.
Yeah, if I may also add too, part of the reasons we will be probably seeing more, not just because the needs of the community or the individuals, but also because the FCC, the Federal Commission, they have give them the service providers a lot of leeway. So ending up, a lot of municipalities don't have much control, and then the state legislature, doesn't leave too much power or review power or regulations to the local municipalities. And so you would see a lot of local municipalities trying to see if there's certain things, certain provisions that the federal governments would let the local governments, or the state would let the local governments to undertake. And those are the areas that with the 5G contract, because there's a whole lot we can do because all these federal and state laws that allows more leeway for the service providers. So the contract the commission approved last month really was to ask the consultants to review the current regulations of the town and the city regarding those small cells installation or the wireless installations and the infrastructure, particularly within the public right of way, but also to see if there's any changes, any standards that could be imposed, and also is anything that can be done to enhance the aesthetics of those infrastructures. So that's really the crust of what the work that the consultant actually has started, since last meeting, since the contract has been signed and approved. Yeah, we'll see more, because all of us want higher speed and better reception, but also that's the other side of the aesthetics to the community.
Thanks, Ray, for the extra context.
I'm curious if the municipalities around the state are working together so that they have more influence on the placement of these devices.
The Illinois Municipal League, they've been looking at that issue because they supposedly represent the municipalities. I don't know what the latest, but like a year or so ago, I mean, they actually did have some kind of a model ordinance, and all the cities and towns adopted that, or with some modifications to the local situations. But because the FCC rules, they may change even since a year or so ago, and I know there's also, as you all can imagine, also the service providers will have their lobbyists, in Springfield, and so there's a lot of issues, while the municipality is trying to have more control, but then also a lot of the service providers trying to have, their way to get it done. So they're kind of working, some, more willing to work together with the municipalities. But it's hard to get to one voice but I think there's some representation by the Illinois Municipal League on this issue.
Okay, thank you, Ray. Are there any other questions? Okay, hearing none. We are at our adjournment time of 5:03. So is there a motion to adjourn? Yes,
If
Ray?
I may- Yes, if I may, just under that which may arise.
Oh,
Just,
yes.
yeah, it's just a heads up for the commission members. The 2021 election of officers, we're going to hold it at the next meeting if they were to have a January meeting. If not, whatever the first meeting in 2021 will be holding the election of officers. There are 3 positions. One is the chairperson, the vice chair, and then also a representative to serve on the executive committee of the commission. So there will be 3 positions. And current office holders can be re-elected. I think according to the bylaws, they can serve up to 3 years. And Mr. Takeman can correct me. I think that's my understanding. They can serve theoretically, if got re-elected, they can serve 3 years in a row. But typically, we probably would have the election done in the December meeting, but I just wasn't aware of it until yesterday. But I think it should be okay. We have a good chair, vice chair, and the rep, and so we'll be holding the election at the first meeting in 2021, and we'll be sending information about the steps and procedures. So in the meantime, think about who you want to nominate, and or see what the 3 offices for 2021 will be, and then we'll go through a quick election process in the next meeting.
Okay, thank you, Ray.
Thank you.
Any other questions? If not, I'll ask for a motion for adjournment.
So moved, Carl.
Carl, is there a second? Okay,
Carl,
Bob-
second.
all right, everyone in favor of adjourning, raise your hand.
Aye.
Hi. Have a great evening, everyone. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.